Me, Doug Shane, him, Michael Gutta at the Big Gutta. I'm at Bankster17. Come join us, banksterdfs.com, $3.99 a week. That's just a small price to pay for the big hits that we've been having. We've been popping like crazy lately. We've had $1,000 winners every week, geez, for like the last 6-7 weeks. People are just pulling big time money in all the sports, hockey and football and basketball. Soccer's been good, but not hitting for $1,000. This just aren't the big tournaments in soccer. But that's been doing great. College sports, we got it all. $3.99 a week. Plus, you get the Slack chat, which is wonderful. So yeah, come check us out, banksterdfs.com/subscribe. Gutta, I have been promising, I promised it on Twitter, I promised it in our Slack chat. I'm going to do a science lesson today, but I want to say hello to you first, see how you're doing, and let you give some thoughts before I go into a 3 to.
Yeah, I'm good.
4
This
minute
is
science.
I'm good. I'm really good. This is we have quite the slate on our hands today. Definitely better than the past 2 weeks were, but now we're at the point where we got to make a lot of decisions on what we're going to do with some of these chalk guys. You know, who's good chalk, who might be bad chalk. You know, and what you want to do with that, and especially too on the running back side. I mean, I think this is where we're going to really make our gravy this week. There are so many good pivot options off of some of these chalk guys. There's a lot of good running back plays this week, and ownership is probably going to be very condensed into a small few of them. So I think you can really make some hay if you're getting guys low owned that are going to have the similar type of upside and really just as good of matchups.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting weekend. I know we've been sort of, I don't say having an existential crisis, but earlier in the year, we were really trying to chase the chalk and cash. And, you know, I kind of had this epiphany, like, do I want to have the chalkiest lineup or do I want to have a lineup that wins money? And I'd rather have a lineup that wins money. And I think much like the past couple of weeks, there are chalk spots that we can pivot off of in cash and still be okay. We did it last week with Najee Harris. Neither Gutta nor I saw where Najee Harris was a good play last week, and we faded him even though he was super chalky. And that worked out really, really well. Cash really easily this week. We've got a couple more plays this week that may be more controversial. I don't know. That we're going to talk about fading, and we have our opinions. We'll get to that. But first, as promised, I want to invite everyone. Please make sure as you're hanging out in the room, put your questions in the chat because that does lead our conversations to where you want to go, and it's most relevant for all of you. So as you're joining us here on this wonderful holiday weekend, Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa and Happy New Year, right? By the next time we talk to you, it'll be next year. So, welcome to everyone. Put those questions in chat. But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a science lesson. I'm going to put my teacher hat on, and we're going to talk about the coronavirus. Please understand, this is not a political statement. This is not a PSA. This is not anything. This is science, and it's how science is going to help us win in fantasy football. Let's hope. So I'm going to pull up a picture of the human lung. I know this is a weird way to start, but we're going to talk about the difference real fast between Delta and Omicron because there are huge differences and they do impact your fantasy team as we are losing viewers. I love that. But it's okay. The science is amazing. This will live on in posterity as it's being recorded on YouTube. I don't care. I think it matters. So what happened with the Delta variant? Delta variant would get into the very bottom of your lungs, right here into the alveoli. The alveoli, the most important thing you need to know is it helps with respiration. It is very impactful to your breathing. And if you got the Delta variant and you got it bad, or even if you got it mildly, it would hurt your breathing. Gutta brought this up before we went live today, and he made a great point. Amari Cooper, 6-7 weeks ago, got popped for COVID. He came back after a couple weeks. He definitely had the Delta variant because Omicron wasn't here yet. And he struggled to get his wind. He couldn't play more than a few snaps in the game, and playing him was a real problem. Now the dominant variant is the Omicron variant, and it no longer affects part of your lung. Omicron affects the bronchial tubes, the bronchi, higher up in your lungs, whereas the Delta variant was more like a really bad pneumonia, and pneumonia affects your breathing. This is more like a bronchitis, and for vaccinated people, which most of the NFL is, it's like a really mild bronchitis, like a cold, right? the most important factor to bring up is it should not affect their conditioning because it's not affecting their breathing in the same way that Delta does. Delta went after your breathing in the lower lungs, really caused players to get winded, and they could not get up to speed, and they would have to limit their snap counts. I do not feel, based on the science of the Omicron variant, that the players who've been popped for COVID are going to be an issue physically for this game. That's these games. That's Tyler Lockett. That's Tyreek Hill. Those players that have cleared protocols and are ready to play that had the Omicron variant. And we can safely assume because of the quick spread that Tyler Lockett last week was popped for Omicron, not Delta. So it's like a completely different virus. They should be fine. I don't think we should be afraid to play them, and we should leverage the field. Now, Tyreek Hill is trending towards being chalky anyway, but we should not be afraid of a player in a good matchup who was popped for COVID because it was most likely the Omicron variant, and it's not affecting their win, and they should be fine. Science. Okay, that's my science. Nerdgasm over. Let's talk. Please put your questions in the chat if you want to talk about how you feel the science of this works and how brilliant that was. You just let me know. But otherwise, talk about cash. I got the cash pool up. I'm very excited to have had a science talk. Like, you don't understand how I nerded out when I'm like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to have some fun with this. But let's talk football now. Like, legit football. Now that we know that we don't have to be scared of the guys who got popped for Omicron, they should be fine if they've tested out of it. Cash is interesting this week because there's some massive chalk. This is the pool that I've got right now. I'm a little less on Laquan Treadwell than I was earlier in the week. There you go. Look, Big Matt knows. Now, I mean, I taught everything, Matt. The last couple of years I taught math, but I teach everything. Plus, I'm a nerd, right? Now I teach and so I am. Science is important. Thanks, Matt. I thought that was all good stuff. I thought it was important to bring that up. So anyway, that's not nice about Damien Harris. For those who took the article early in the week, we need to get out of the teaching mode. Those who checked the article early in the week would have seen that I had a actually more condensed running back pool. I have expanded the running back pool quite a bit during this week. I've reduced the quarterback pool. I've reduced the wide receiver pool. I've reduced the tight end pool, and I haven't really touched the defense pool because I think there's a lot of good options this week, particularly these bad boys right there that are not the whole list. The Bengals, who are trending to be like super low owned, which is crazy. Anywho, but there's some fairly defined chalk this week. Here's where Gutta and I have been talking, and this is somewhat, I'm going to pull some names out of here. This is where the chalk seems to be going right now. Matt wants to know, even as we're going now, are we back to 3 running backs in cash? Yes, we are. This week for sure. I think we're back to 3 running backs because there are so many running back lays. And we're going to talk about that throughout the course of the next half hour or 22 minutes before we get to inactives. This is where the chalk is really headed. Ronald Jones and Justin Jackson are going to be your 2 highest owned running backs. Antonio Brown and Cooper Kupp are going to be your 2 highest owned wide receivers. I'm going to pull Tyreek out there, though he's trending to be 3rd highest wide receiver this week or in the top 3. I think these 4 are kind of locked in. Again, this is not my lineup. This is what I predict the chalk to be. My lineup right over there. So we'll get to my lineup. But we'll talk about, and we may edit my lineup. But this is where I think the chalk is landing. Gutta, are you in agreement that this is where most cash lineups are going to start?
Yeah, I think you'll see like 70 to 90% of cash lineups end up having those 4 guys. I think it's just going to be just insane.
Yeah, spoiler, I don't. And I don't think Gutta does. You have the same thing. Did you pivot up? Oh, you're still debating on the Ronald Jones.
Yeah, right. So right now I do have Jones and those 4 guys in.
I wrote extensively this morning and earlier in the week actually as well about my lack of desire to stack running back and wide receiver in cash, even if they're really good matchups. We saw earlier in the year it worked when Darrell Henderson and Cooper Kupp were both chalk, both hit. I didn't use Kupp. I didn't cash. That was a pretty rough week for me. I just can't do it again this week. I just don't like to do it. I don't like to stack. And I think of all these 4 guys, the biggest bust potential, there's so many avenues for this guy to fail, is Ronald Jones.
Yep.
I do think he'll have I mean, logically, you should have a fine week. But there's so many avenues for him to fail. He can't catch passes. He will catch passes, but he's not a great pass catcher. He's not a great pass blocker. And Bruce Arians just doesn't like him. The problem is there are no real other options for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to throw back there besides Keyshawn Vaughn, who can catch passes and can pass block, and Lev Bell, if he's active, who's, old and decrepit and can't play football anymore. So I don't have him there, but I think you will see. And if he pops off, I'm in trouble. But I think this is where most cash lineups are headed this week. I don't think we need to tell you why you need to play Cooper Kupp, why you need to play Antonio Brown as the only pass catcher around. And Brady loves him anyway. Let's not forget, Chris Godwin didn't do Chris Godwin things when Antonio Brown played. Chris Godwin was okay, but Antonio Brown was his Brady's favorite target. And you spoke this week a little bit how mispriced Antonio Brown is. You want to go into that a little bit more, because you're pretty adamant about that in your article this week.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing. Sorry, I'm losing my words a little bit. I'm assuming. Okay. I'm assuming DraftKings pricing, whatever they do with their algorithms and everything, was running prior to the Sunday night game. So obviously there was no awareness of the injuries and all that, and I guess too, I suppose Brown wasn't necessarily a lock to come back and play. Maybe I don't really know where his injury was trending at this time last week, but. Yeah, I mean it's just a massive mistake. I mean they could have waited to put pricing out, but anyway, with no Evans, with no Godwin, and really just Brown and Gronk, because there's been nobody else with over these weeks where injuries have come up. They were playing 3 wide receivers with Brown, Evans, Godwin, but nobody stepped up. Scotty Miller was hurt; he hasn't come back to any form. Like last year, he looked like he'd be a prototypical Brady, slot receiver, but he hasn't really done anything. Tyler Johnson hasn't really stepped up in these absences. Brashad Perriman had that, nice touchdown a couple weeks ago to win the game. I think that was the Buffalo game.
He didn't get cleared from the protocols either this week.
Yeah. Perriman didn't even get activated. But there's nobody. There's nobody that stepped up. So where are all the targets going to go? Fournette's not back there to get 8 to 10 targets. Sure, I suppose between Jones and Vaughn, maybe you'll see 6-7 targets, but is Brady gonna trust them to use them like that? It could be a game you see Brown and Gronk each get like 12 targets, and realistically, Brown at $4,900, is just it's just much too cheap. There's no reason not to use him. I even think in GPPs, I'd rather fade some of the chalkier running backs and just use Brown in like 70% of my lineups. It's crazy to think, but I just think it's at a point where he's just the type of chalk that you look at and you say, there's of course he can always fail. That will, that can happen, but it's just one of those spots in games where, can you actually see it happening? And I don't. I just think it's one of those things. It's he's not priced like a free square necessarily, but you just pretty take free. It and you move on.
Pretty free.
Yeah, well,
if you have Justin Jackson in your lineup, the combination of the two of them is based. It averages out to 4,500. They're basically free.
Yeah.
And the thing with Brown too, you have to remember he's played 5 games this year, scored 13 or more in 4 of them, scored 24 or more in 3 of the 5, and those are games where the other receivers were there and he was active. He was Brady's favorite receiver, and now he doesn't have anyone else to throw to. He should. Is he going to get Steph Gilmore this? I don't know if they're going to move him around. I really don't consider anyone on. I consider all the receivers generally. If Brady's throwing to him, I consider them matchup proof anyway.
Yeah.
And he's the chalk I feel you do. You're absolutely right. You do have to eat it. And he could see 10, 12 targets, and you want volume. And because I'm not stacking in cash, and there's so many running backs. Look, if you look in this general area, every running back I have except for Madison is under 6K, and they're all in that 56 to 59K, 5,900 range. Jones is cheaper at 51, but you can make things work by just spending down a little bit more on defense, which actually, and we were going to talk defense right away, but Matt brought up a great question about defense. Do you let your defense pick dictate any other choices, or do you put your D in last with the money you have left? Second one. I have a pool of defensive teams I'd like to target. As you know, I love to write up certain ones, and I would have loved to have gotten to the Bengals this week, but because of the way that I'm configuring my lineup, I wasn't going to spend down. I wasn't going to put Ronald Jones in my lineup so I can go up from the Vikings to the Bengals, right? Like, I'm perfectly comfortable spending down on defense. All it takes is one lucky score And yeah, I put the defense in last. I feel that's the way to do it. And if I have to just completely punt and go with the cheapest defense to make everything else work, I will. Gutta, do you ever prioritize defense in a cash lineup? And do you ever? Well, I'll ask about the cash, and then if you can follow up with, do you prioritize defense in the tournament lineup? Because I think you do when you're stacking with the running back. But I'd like to hear your view on this defense question.
So depending on the week, I will prioritize defenses. I mean, really, it depends on how the slate kind of shakes out. In this particular week, yeah, I will prioritize the defense because there's so much value around that people are going to pay up for defenses a little more than we're accustomed to seeing. So I definitely think you want, if you got a real strong feeling on a defense, kind of plug them in and see if you can build a comfortable cash lineup with it. And if not, if there are other guys that you want and, you're trying to get the Bengals or the Seahawks, but you just can't, fit it in. And then it's, well, geez, I'm going to have to just spend down. Well, yeah, then go for the Falcons or go down to the, Giants or Texans, just whatever makes the lineup fit then at that point.
If I go down, I would love to get to the Bengals. They've been a really good defense, way better than people give them credit for, forcing turnovers, getting sacks, and now they're going up against a third-string quarterback who wasn't even on the team a couple weeks ago. But if I'm spending all the way down on defense, it's going to be the Vikings. I wrote about this in the article this week. We want defenses that pressure quarterbacks, and the Vikings do that. They've had the 3 or more sacks in 10 or 11 games this year. They've only been under 2 sacks, I think, once all year. Never. They haven't gone under 2 sacks all year. They do force turnovers. They're over in each of the last 4 games. They've had multiple turnovers in some games. Yes, they're against terrible teams. Take a look. They gave up 28 points to Pittsburgh, still had 6 fantasy points. They gave up 29 points to Detroit, still had 6 fantasy points. They gave up 34 points to the Vikings, to the Niners. They had 9 fantasy points. Yes, they had a defensive touchdown, but those things happen sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. I think that was the Wong Wu kick return, but he's the best kick returner in the NFL right now, Wong Wu. So, you get those points, so you take teams that have decent special. I'm not afraid to use the Vikings against the Rams. Stafford on the road, early game. Stafford's a little banged up. I'm definitely not afraid to use the Vikings here, and so I've got them in there just because they're going to get the sacks, and they've gone negative a grand total of 0 times, and they've scored 3 or more points in every game but one this year. Like they've been really solid defense despite that they've not been good. So yeah, I think that's where we're at. Shreddy comes in and he agrees. Much rather have Antonio Brown over Ronald Jones. I think a lot of people are going to have both. I would rather have Antonio Brown than Ronald Jones too. It took me a while to get there, but I think Gutta helped me cross the line with his write-up and our agreement that Ronald Jones could bust a little bit more. And yes, I love the Bengals defense. Seth agrees. Bengals are the smash D. I've got them in just about every GPP I can get them into. But cash I couldn't get there with the lineup I was comfortable with. And Gutta was able to get up to a D he liked, which is great. Again, we differ on where our cash lineup was not identical this week. It was last week. This week it's not identical.
You can't even with all the value that is there. If you want to differentiate your cash lineup a little bit, go for the gusto and try to pay up for the Buccaneers. I know it. The most expensive defense is usually not a winning strategy or very ideal, but I think with the Bucs pass rush plus the fact that not only is it going to be Cam Newton,
doesn't know who their quarterback is.
Well, Matt, according to Ian Rappaport, Matt Rule has expressed that Sam Darnold is going to play today and he's going to play quite a bit. So if we're getting like a 50-50 sharing scenario with Cam Newton and Sam Darnold, what more could you ask for a defense?
Not like Cam's good either.
No, exactly. Oh my God, not to get off topic, but did you see that screen throw to Robbie Anderson last week?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't? Oh my God.
I'll have to go look it up.
See if you can find it. That was oh my God. That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen in my life.
I'll have to look and see that. Was it worse than a Carson Wentz throw where Carson Wentz is almost to the ground and just hands it to a defender?
Yes.
Wow. I'll have to look that up.
Yes.
I actually have the Buccaneers in quite a few GPPs just because it's so easy to spend up a defense this week. there's just so much value on the slate. Matt wants to know if Thielen's active. We'll let you know in 10 minutes when we know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
We're just waiting to find out. The expectation is he will be active. He has a really tough matchup this week. So I'm using a lot of Justin Jefferson and Tyler Conklin, but the expectation is Thielen will be active. Listen, he's on my Scott Fishbowl team that already has AJ Green and George Kittle. If that's any indication of how the week is going, you probably don't want Thielen in your lineup. It is a pretty awful matchup, and my curse is strong, friends. Something interesting that Gutta mentioned to me off air, and I before we got live, and I didn't expect that, was that Tyreek Hill trending towards being chalky. Like, I get it in tournaments, but I guess it wouldn't shock me if he ended up being chalky in cash with Travis Kelce out and Hill being healthy and Pittsburgh being bad. And he's been sort of a target machine. You know, he's a double-digit target guy. He has for a guy who's a downfield threat, he has a fairly low ADOT on a lot of his passes. And he's very easy to get into your lineup this week because of the value you're getting from Jones, Jackson, and Antonio Brown. You can absolutely fit Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp into your lineup. If you spend down at tight end, you can actually get Burrow, a decent quarterback, in your lineup, though it's possible, according to, again, these takes a lot of look at the tournament end, so we're talking about the tournament end of it, but a lot of people are apparently using Josh Johnson this week. Like, that's some chalk I'm willing to fade pretty hard. I'll just use the Bengals defense. He had he had the good game against Indy when he came in for the Jets.
Yeah.
Right. He came in after White got hurt, and he was great. Yeah. Against a really bad Indy secondary, but like, I can't go there. If you do go with Josh Johnson at quarterback, though, then you can spend up to one of the chalkier tight ends, who is going to be Dallas Goedert. And I love Goddard. He's a cash core play for me. He moved into the cash core this morning, and that leaves you plenty of money to get a running back and a defense. You go defense, which I guess people aren't going Bengals. You go Vikings defense hypothetically, and you got plenty of money left for another player. You got $6,800 for Madison. You could throw Madison in there, or you could go into, and again, this is where I just think the chalk will head. I'm trying to get in the heads of people. This is not where I'm going, but you could go to David Montgomery, who's also pretty chalky this week, and plenty of money to spend up on just about every defense you want other than the Eagles and Bucks. Chiefs, I think, are in a great spot this week. You throw the Chiefs in there, and there's a lineup that people may be using if they're using Josh Johnson. Like, it's appealing to use Kupp and Hill, but you're still stacking the Bucks. You got Josh Johnson in there. Like, I'm not.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I think the real question with Hill, or the big thing why he's trending as he is, is he going to be getting 15 targets, or are the Steelers going to triple team him and be like, well, McCole Hardman and Byron Pringle, go ahead and beat us. What? I
don't know if the Steelers can stop him even if they do triple team him, though.
I mean, there's that part too.
They're bad.
The Steelers' pass defense hasn't been as bad. It's been more, really more of the run defense. Because the Steelers do have a strong pass rush still.
Yeah, I would rather run against the Steelers. Spoiler for my cash lineup. Who else is trending to be pretty popular at wide receiver past the top three? We only talked about the top three. I'm looking for to try to get in the minds of people. Where is that mid-range guy? Is it Amon-Ra? Is it Russell Gage? Because it should be Russell Gage. People should be playing Russell Gage. I don't have him in my cash lineup because I have ideas, but like, people should be playing tournaments.
Yeah, from an ownership standpoint, after those top three, not, I guess, very surprising. Keenan Allen's 4 and Josh Palmer's 5.
Can you talk to me about why Keenan Allen's not a good play this week? Because I know I do not have him in a single lineup in tournaments, and you were very adamant not to play Keenan Allen. Can you give me some idea why?
I'm almost kind of feeling like I'm on an island with the Keenan Allen one, but not very much talked about because the Texans have been bad. But their slot corner, Tavir Thomas, is a top 3 guy at the position, maybe even second, number 2, depending on how you would qualify Jalen Ramsey. Realistically, the only better slot corner in the NFL is Bryce Callahan on Denver, which is also a reason why Hunter Renfrow is not in the picture this week. It's such a weird game. Like, are they going to, because of Mike Williams being out, are they going to, and Jalen Guyton being out, are they going to keep Allen in the slot all day, or are they going to move him around to try to get more, better exposure? That part I don't know, but if we just go off, what they've done all year, I mean, if Allen's run out of the slot all game, I mean, he could really be shut down, and now it becomes, they're going to pass more to Josh Palmer potentially, maybe some Jared Cook, or maybe they just run the heck out of the ball and they run it 35 times this week, and Herbert in the pass offense doesn't do as much. It's not a very, very good matchup at all, by the numbers, everything that's been there. And I just think if Allen's going to have this type of ownership, it's a very easy fade. It's kind of like with Najee Harris being chalk last week.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Keenan Allen this week based on all that. I'm just trying to figure out where people might go then with this lineup for cash. Like, you could get Mahomes, Mark Andrews if you put Palmer in. If you put Palmer in there, and let's say, because we know Montgomery's trend towards being chalky, because he does catch a lot of passes, great matchup, cheap. I mean, there's so many cheap running backs. Like, are we really double stacking both the Chargers and the Buccaneers because of all the value? And what happens like when that doesn't hit? Like, I don't want to take that chance in cash. Like, this is why I'm just not chasing the chalk at all.
Yeah.
And Seth brought up that he thinks Gage is going to be chalky. I don't know if he's going to be. Like, I like him in tournaments. He should be chalky, though. Terrible Detroit D's. Though so. Detroit does not give up a ton of passes to running backs, which I think pulls, who I do think Patterson's going to be pretty chalky, and I'm not using Patterson almost anywhere. But I do have a lot of Russell Gage. Amon-Ra St. Brown, mini stacks. I think that even with Tim Boyle playing, Falcons are just bad defensively. Gage has been getting the targets. He's been getting some end zone, red zone looks. He's been scoring. I think he's better for this offense than Kyle Pitts right now. Now he's taking a look here, and then, how is Palmer getting more than Gage? A better offense, cheaper. People are looking for that.
Well,
people are obsessed with free squares too. Russell Gage is boring, right? And like, people want free squares, and we've got to fight that urge sometimes. I
think. And I mean, it's Palmer versus Gage. Especially from an ownership standpoint, you're not really comparing apples to apples. Like, yes, they both have very, very good matchups, but Palmer's 3,300 compared to Gage being 5,900. That's your real reason there. Again, Gage is probably a better, like, if salary wasn't taken into account and you're just looking at which guy's the better play, it probably is Russell Gage. But constructing lineups and taking the salary into account becomes a much different way of looking at it, because it's not a 1 versus 1 anymore. It's probably really a 3 versus 3 with a $2,600 savings.
You're probably up in your quarterback, up in your defense, making sure you get to Gutta at tight end, or maybe Mark Andrews. Yeah, there's a lot of other moving parts there. Paul wants to know about T. Higgins. Listen, for a while he was very cash worthy. I'm not. He's at the highest price he's been. I mean, he was up a little bit, but in terms of when he was the heavy cash play, he was really underpriced. He's not underpriced now. He's kind of at a ceiling price, and he's just coming off a bad game. To me, you're coming off a bad game in a game that was supposed to potentially shoot out, but now could be a problem with Johnson at quarterback. I can't use him in cash in this situation. I've got him in tournaments, particularly in my Bengals double stacks, but I can't play him in cash this week with Higgins, especially at that ceiling price when you've got Gage sitting right there and you've got St. Brown sitting right there, and I think are much better positions to be successful for cash than T. Higgins.
Like that's the thing. If the Bengals, if this game goes the way the Bengals want it to, with the way they play their offense, they're slow paced, they're a little more run heavy, and that's gonna hurt Higgins. Like, if the Bengals are up 14-0 in the late first quarter, early second quarter, I mean, do we really think Josh Johnson might get the Bengals out of that and keep it competitive, that the Bengals have to throw? I don't think so.
No.
I really don't. So you're looking at some potential issues there, again, which makes Higgins much better from a GPP standpoint.
And it scares me. This all split because now we're taking a look here at. Good morning, Betty. Welcome. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Nice to see you today. Definitely like Higgins and GPPs. So this is my cash lineup currently, and this whole conversation about the Bengals kind of terrifies me because I've been on Burrow all week long, and at this point my builds are such that getting off them is it's just not feasible for me. I mean, where would I go at this point? Probably Jalen Hurts, right? Go back to old reliable, but then I got to find $500, and where do I find the $500? I come off of James Robinson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire and go down to the Ronald Jones area. And, and I guess I could do that and then pull up the Vikings to the Bengals. So I don't want to do that. Like, I'm kind of locked in on where this lineup is. And we do have some areas that are a little bit different. But before we do that, I think it's very important that we talk about inactives that just came out. Quentin Williams was just put on COVID list for the Jets, which is, I guess, if you're running Rex Burkhead out there or Royce Freeman. Are we going by Royce Freeman well this week?
No. I mean, I wouldn't even touch that area, but it's probably Burkhead, but no.
We'll talk about my cash lineup in a second. We just want to take a look. Mike Evans officially out. Matt Breida is out. Just probably good for Devin Singletary, though I don't think you're playing him this week. No one for the Eagles of significance.
So there's an interesting report from Jeremy Fowler about the Chiefs. He's saying that Josh Gordon could potentially fill a bigger role today with Kelsey being out. He's been playing really well for them. Well, they like the way that he's playing. I shouldn't say he's been playing really well. They like the way that he's been playing and everything. So, I mean, again, there's no need to go there. There's no need to use that with where the value is a receiver. Just thought that's an interesting point. Might be, could be nice to see. It's a nice story and all, but yeah, there's nothing more than that.
DeAndre Swift is inactive, which means I have to change a home league lineup. I was so excited for Swift to come back, but Swift is out, which means, for me personally, it means Javonte Williams time. Thank goodness I have a deep enough team that Javonte Williams can slide into my lineup this week. That was that deep at running back that Javonte wasn't even in the lineup, so that's good. Yeah, I know we have double flex. I have 4 running backs in my lineup, and Javonte wasn't one of them. Like, it's a deep team. So I'm excited there, but yeah, I'm kind of bummed by that, but like it makes some sense. Why rush him back?
Yeah,
I'm not interested in the Detroit running game all that much.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson officially inactive too.
He didn't travel. It's gonna be really hard for him to have played if he didn't travel.
Oh, he didn't travel? Oh, I thought he was going to. Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure he didn't. I could be wrong on that. I was just fun. I guess it was more just funny to say. Let's see. It looks as if. It looks as if Thielen is active. A guy I follow on Twitter, he's in my Scott Fishbowl league, Frank Emma, he said what I told my buddy today. If Travis Kelce's your tight end in season long, go get Cole Kmet. I agree. Cole Kmet is a great play today. Seattle's terrible against the tight end. Yep. Foles likes the tight end. But boy, it could be David Montgomery day. Like, I'm really torn. We're going to talk about my cash lineup because it will lead into other things. Yeah. Let's see. Jamal Williams, Craig Reynolds, and Godwin Igwe are the running backs. Thielen is officially active. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just kind of talking as I see things. Derwin James is active for defense for the Chargers, but I mean, unless you're pretty much only using Nico Collins as my guess for the Texans, and you're probably not using it very hard either. So it probably doesn't affect anything. Another reason, by the way, and I know Gutta brought this up, if the Chargers just kind of roll in this game, it could just be a Josh Jackson game like Keenan Allen. I've got Palmer in some tournament lineups, but I'm going Palmer Cook. I'm still not touching him. Damien Harris is active.
Damien Harris is active. Yep.
Sorry, Betty wanted. I forgot to activate this thing. Yes, Betty. He is very active and should be the guy getting all the work. Today. I'm very sad. About this DeAndre Swift thing. Again, I'm glad I have a guy to fill in, but makes me sad. David Johnson officially inactive, so it is the Rex Burkhead, Royce Freeman, two-headed monster. If you hate yourself that much, you would have to hate yourself that much. Like, you would have to hate money if that's where you're going today. We tried that and it didn't work. Kendrick Bourne active, N'Keal Harry active. Not that you're using N'Keal Harry, but Jamison Crowder officially inactive. And I know Gutta is going to have his big Jets moment in a few minutes. Once I finish talking about the cash lineup, we're going to talk about the high amount of Braxton Berrios that we both have in our lineups this week. But I mean, Berrios, James Robinson is such an easy mini stack to fit. Like, you have to have it. Like, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
If you like James Robinson, and I do this week, Raquel Armstead, who was promoted to the active roster, is not active for the game. So it's going to be Gumbawale and James Robinson. So that's it. Hyde's out. So
Hyde's out. Yep.
As far as I know, right? He's COVID, so I'm pretty sure he's on regular IR. I'm not 100% sure.
I think he's on. I think they put him on IR after that concussion or whatever happened to him. But yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not listed, but he's not playing. I know that.
They say they has no inactives for the Chargers, but I don't think that counts COVID guys.
Doesn't count COVID.
Doesn't count COVID. Okay, because we do know that Eckler and Mike Williams are not playing, or Jalen Guyton. DJ Moore active. There was some talk that he was a little banged up, but he was kind of always expected to play. But man, beginning of the year, and he's just.
I know.
PJ Walker's active for the Panthers, so it really is Cam Newton and Sam Darnold. Fire up that Bengals defense. Oh man, this is one of those cases where we totally, especially in tournaments, like spend up on defense. This is the week to do it because there's so much value.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? We're kind of not really into Ronald Jones, but if you want to use Ronald Jones in a lineup, you bring his ownership down by having the Bucs defense in there. You know, because with the way with the way Jones plays, it would make more sense that the Buccaneers have a really strong defensive day, and that'll give Jones a bit of a boost there, and not have to rely as much on his catching skills. Where if it's a back and forth, like if Carolina finds offense and they're putting up points with Tampa, yeah, there may be a scenario where Jones is not going to do as much because they're passing more, aside from maybe some touchdown variance or something.
Yeah. For sure. Are you running back anybody on before we get to the rest of my cash lineup and the concerns that kind of where we're heading cash? Are you running back with Robbie Anderson, or are you just not?
No, I'm not going to do it. I toyed with the idea, but you know what? There's just can't do it.
I went 50-50. Some lineups have Robbie, some lineups don't, just because they're really trying to get him involved in the offense, and he's so cheap. But I don't know.
Yeah,
on FanDuel, by the way, just a quick side note as we're pulling into cash on FanDuel, you're using Jackson, Madison, and who's the third one? Ronald Jones. They're all priced $5,500 or cheaper. Like, don't get cute because you can do Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Pat Mahomes, Dallas Goedert. Like, my lineup has all of those guys. So yeah, I was able to fit in Kupp, Mahomes, Hill, Jamar Chase into my cash lineup on FanDuel, and so everyone's gonna have them, but I went FanDuel soft. The pricing's just way soft because they're all they priced them way down, all the running backs. I think got the Bengals D in there as well. Pretty freaking lineup. Okay, so here's the big debate for the week: is what we're doing here and how we're pivoting. I'm pivoting off of Ronald Jones. I'm using James Robinson, who's going to be one of the chalkier plays, going up against a terrible Jets defense. Kind of is the only game in town. They made somewhat of a commitment last week to use him, and I think he's even better matchup this week than he was against Houston last week. 6 targets, 18 carries, a touchdown. Like, he's fine. 17.8 points. I'm happy, but he's got 25-point upside. So the big differences in my lineup here is I'm using Edwards-Helaire, though I'm still kind of torn on David Montgomery, but when in doubt, I'd like to go with the guy in the better offense. Pittsburgh is Swiss cheese defense. You can run all over them. He only had 9 attempts and 4 targets last week, and it was kind of a weird game against the Chargers. He's getting some inside the 5 looks, and with Kelsey out, maybe he gets some more looks. Like, I'm really torn between him and David Montgomery right now, but I run it against Pittsburgh and taking the guy on the better offense, even though Montgomery, it's a tough one. That's going to be one that's my do I cash or not decision too this week. And then the other guy we're looking at here is Tyler Lockett. Both Gutta and I like Lockett a lot this week. The Bears have been terrible against the passing game. Minnesota had a horrible offensive game plan last week. Seattle won't be that stupid, I don't think, unless they just try to run it 100 times, which is a very Seattle thing to do. And Lockett's actually been way more consistent this year than he's been in the past, seeing a good number of targets, scoring over 12 points in 5 of his last 6 weeks, scoring over 18 in 3 of his last 4 weeks. DK Metcalf is just not gelling with Wilson. He's pretty cheap at $6,700. No one's going to be on him, and I don't love to just completely go off, the ownership numbers and run away from the chalk. But I think he's a good cash play this week. I just think he's in a great position to succeed, and it's going to be tough. It's tough to come off of Gage, right? Because if I pivot from Lockett down to Gage, I can definitely improve my defense. And from Helaire, those are the three spots that's a real trouble for me is Lockett, Edwards-Helaire, Vikings D, and then I do have that fear with Burrow. Gutta, what am I doing here, man? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make the argument Gage maybe is a little bit safer than Lockett, only because Atlanta likely
not nearly the upside.
Sorry?
Not nearly the upside.
No, not the same upside, but Cash, we're always looking for, a bit of more perceived safety or even, targets and all that. I mean, Seattle's such a conundrum, right? There's DK Metcalf's not doing anything. The guy's like hardly even seeing any targets. Seattle wants to be run first, but they're just kind of down the Rashad Penny. Like, I mean, are they really going to run a lot? And then there's what the heck is Chicago's offense going to do? Is Nick Foles going to maybe give a little spark? Is he going to be able to pass it downfield a little better, or is he just going to kind of be what Nick Foles was aside from that 1 year in Philly and just not really do much, and Chicago puts up 6 points and Russell Wilson only throws it 15 times? Where I think the Atlanta-Detroit game, you're in a similar situation with Tim Boyle there, but Atlanta's defense is just atrocious. So you could see Atlanta throw a bit more, engage, have more consistency with his targets. So, I mean, there's that. But, I mean, each guy is kind of a toss-up, too. I mean, you might just be better off because the Vikings are playing the Rams that you use Gage over Lockett and you spend up on the defense, or at least you upgrade the defense. I should say spend up, but upgrade from the Vikings and then, fit in elsewhere.
So I'm playing around a little bit with it, as you can see. So we're basically running a 4v4 right here. Okay, I've got the math worked out. I thought it did. So this would be an alternate option.
You can get Hurts, though.
You go from Burrow to Hurts. You go from Lockett to Gage. You go from Helaire to Montgomery. So that, because I need that 100, and I can go up from the Vikings to the Bengals. I feel like the defense better. The running backs are negligible. The quarterback is probably in a better spot. You get a little bit of correlation, which I don't mind stacking a quarterback with his favorite target. And then you've got the Russell Gage end of it, which I don't think it's that much different than Lockett, as much as I like Lockett. Maybe this is the better way to go. I don't know what to do. I've played heavy cash this week. And it's like, and listen, we talk, Hurts has been playing a little differently, but, he's been running a lot lately. And the Giants are bad, and he's cheap. Like, he's back down to being a value again, right? We said once he hit 7K, I was kind of done with him, but he's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, 6,400's really cheap for him. And honestly, Hurts versus Burrow, Hurts is going to be more involved in the offense. Like, regardless of how the game goes, like if the Eagles are blowing out the Giants, maybe they have a 2-touchdown lead and the Giants aren't moving the ball at all, like we've seen the past 8 weeks, whatever it's been.
Hurts is still going to run.
Yeah, Hurts is going to be involved, where if the Bengals have, a 2-touchdown, 17-point lead, Burrow's not throwing it. Burrow's not running. There's, like the Bengals can win. Like the Bengals can win 24-0, and Burrow only gives you 10 fantasy points.
That's true.
Where Hurts, I mean, against the Giants, where they win like 10-0, whatever that was. Hurts only put up like 8 or 9 fantasy points. He just kind of struggled that game. But Hurts is going to be more involved, whether it's a close game or they're up.
That's true. Seth wants to know, Matt. First of all, Matt's freaking out. Matt and I talk about cash all the time. Oh gosh, I know, dude. I know. My buddy back here, who when I was in Vegas, we would partner up to do cash lineups, and obviously we don't have to do that now because I live here in New York. But he's playing cash for the first time in weeks, and I just had to text somebody like, I think I'm changing the cash lineup, and he's like, I can't wait to see what that response is. So, dude, I'm freaking out too, because I feel good about the core of players I have, but it's those moving parts, right? We have to react to the news. Seth wants to know about Matt Ryan as a cash quarterback because he's so cheap. I can't do it.
No,
he has no rushing upside. Even Burrow runs a little bit more. He has no rushing upside, and even in good matchups this year, he's been bad. Let's look at how many 20-point games Matt Ryan has here. 4. How many does he have in the last 6 weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. 0. He hasn't gone above 14 points. He hasn't had a multi-touch game since week 9. I can't do it. Does the division rivalry matter with Hurts? Not really. Not for me, it doesn't.
Nah.
No, not really. The Giants suck. Like if it was Washington and they were competing for the division title, maybe I'd feel different. But the Giants are toast. And it's coming from a Giants fan, so no, I just don't see it. So I don't know. We'll make a decision before the end of the stream because I know, obviously this is why we're here, right? Is what are we going to do with our teams? But I think it's important to see that those of us in this field, the advice-giving field, we have to react to. And I think it's foolish to have everything locked in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. My brother, he's probably watching right now, but he gets on me all the time. You tinker too much. But then sometimes my tinkers are bad, but it's not tinkering, it's reacting to news. Like the Josh Johnson news makes a huge difference because I don't think Cincinnati's going to have to throw as much, right? Like I was wavering on the running back. And I love Gage this week. And it is, the Josh Johnson news affects the Bengals defense. They become more of a priority this week. I didn't make the switches to get to the Bengals, but it's a nice byproduct. And Hurts and Burrow, Hurts is probably in the better spot, and we can make it happen. So, shit. That's where I'm at. I'm probably leaning towards this Hurts lineup now, I'll be honest with you. The Burrow thing scares me, so I'm probably – because the other players are all kind of similar. So I have improved defense. I'm at a similar running back, similar receiver. I got a better quarterback in defense. I think I'm going to end up rolling this lineup, and we'll come back next week and we can all cry about it, and I can get yelled at. Gutta, let's talk GPPs. We'll probably run a little long today. I'm not going anywhere today, so I can probably. Thank you, Matt. You know what? You're a good friend. I appreciate you, Matt. COVID throws all the rules out the window. You make me feel better about myself. And listen, we've been hitting, so obviously things are working. But let's get to the GPP guru. Talk to me about tournaments. What are we doing today in tournaments, Gutta?
All right, so we already know everybody's spending down at running back. So
yes, they are.
So the big look at the slate, what I wrote yesterday, you're likely to see, I believe, at least 2 or 3 of those 4 value guys, Jackson, Jones, Robinson, and Antonio Brown. I think, it's almost guaranteed you're going to see 2 of those, got some combination of 2 of them in every lineup, and you're probably going to see a lot of lineups with 3 of them in there because it's very appealing. You can do basically whatever you want. It's just very easy. And if you kind of further extend it with some of the chalk guys, like I specifically mentioned Madison and Kupp, obviously without the Kelsey news. But if you add those 2 the top spend up running back, the top spend up wide receiver, it's even possible that out of those 6 guys, actually 2, I mentioned David Montgomery, but he's come down a little bit. But I think even out of those 6 guys, I think it's highly likely you see 3 and possibly even 4 in a lot of lineups. Because you could see Madison, Kupp stacked even with Stafford in there, and just that type of stuff. So it's going to be pretty easy this week to get contrarian and really differentiate your lineups. And from that, the easiest place really is going to be at the running back spot. I'm iffy on Cordero Patterson, but he's a decent pivot off of Madison. I think I'd like Patterson better in stacks than as a one-off. But you've got an option there. James Robinson's the one running back I would kind of eat the chalk with because unless he gets hurt, he's basically not going to come off the field. This should be a close enough game that Jacksonville is going to run the ball. The Jets have the worst or second worst, whichever metric or way you want to look at it. They're a bottom 2 run defense, so Robinson should have no issues. Duke Johnson literally came off the scrap heaps and destroyed the Jets last week. So, I think James Robinson, out of all these guys, is the one chalk running back that I would gladly just eat it and not kind of think about it and move on. But if you did want to go a little contrarian in that spot and not use Robinson, Javonte Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are in great spots. at that same price range, with probably a similar type of upside as well. As good low owned pivots in that area. And even for David Montgomery, same thing. You can Allaire, or you can even go down to Damien Harris for $100 less. I think Harris is going to be a fantastic play. I mean, Harris, I think this is a very similar spot to what we saw 2.5 months ago, where they played the Jets in Carolina and Harris just kind of ran all over them. The Buffalo run D, they got abused by New England in that weather game, a couple weeks back, and
Harris. They got abused by Harris.
Yeah, and this game I think sets up perfectly with all the Bills' injuries and just the way Belichick just kind of can dominate certain quarterbacks. Josh Allen's sort of fitting into that mold, and I just think this is just going to be a monster Harris week. I really, really do, and especially with where the chalk is and how everything is coming in. I mean, the guy's going to carry no ownership. Like, if you're in a large field tournament, you might see him like at under 2%, and maybe even less than that. You could even see sub 1% if you play some of these tournaments where you got like, 2,000 or 3,000 entries or less, nobody's even going to look at him. And then, and even from there, Harris is, maybe isn't a 1v1 pivot off of Ronald Jones, but I think you could consider Michael Carter, using him over Ronald Jones too. Again, Carter's probably going to get the majority of the work there, probably 60 to 70%. And the Jaguars are missing both Myles Jack and Josh Allen this week, which really, really hurts their defense, both the pass rush and their run stop. So that could really spike things up for Michael Carter there. And listen, I'm going to argue he's got the same type of upside, maybe even a little more than Jones, because Carter's going to catch passes, and Jones probably will not catch that many. So you can Carter burned a lot of people last week in a good matchup, so I think that's a really strong idea there. And then
we trust Mike Carter though. Like, they really misused him last week. It's so scary.
I know. I think too. I just think Carter got a little less usage because of the way that game played out. But and also too, Miami's defense is a touch better than what Jacksonville's rolling out there. So I do think that there's a way there. But also too, you can just totally fade that price point, not use Jones or Carter. I'm just saying if you're looking. For sure. If you find yourself putting Jones in the lineup because you need the savings, well, maybe going to Carter just gives you a little bit of a better angle.
You like this guy at all right here? Since we're lower price running backs, Amir Abdullah do it for you at all? I know you said if you had to use a running back for the team, it would be Abdullah. But are you actively getting Abdullah, or is it one of those if you have to, you might as well hold your nose and pray?
Yeah, it's more of that. Like if you wanted to spend down. If you said, well, I don't know if I want to use Justin Jackson because of his ownership, you could do that. I mean, listen, the Patriots are – I mean, they've allowed the 11th most catches to running backs this year. Abdullah is the check down back. He's the guy catching the passes. Hubbard is not. So yeah, I mean, listen, if the Pats are dominating and they're running away with it, sorry, not the Pats, the Bucs.
The Buccaneers.
Oh wait, yeah.
I know it's the Brady thing. It's the Brady effect. I always call them the Pats.
You know what? Because we were talking about that. Actually, that's actually better. Tampa's allowed the second most catches on the year to running backs and the third most over the last 4 weeks. I mean, they're allowing a ton of catches. I mean, if Tampa's doing Tampa things, Abdullah could get 6 targets. There's a chance there, and especially at that price.
I don't know. I think you got to be drunk to play anybody in that range. Like,
yeah, it's.
I mean, aside from the obvious play, which is Justin Jackson, other than that, I just think this, and there's no need to, right? Like and I know we're just throwing other options, but we're kind of living in this territory today, as the rest of the world is. But as you kind of mentioned, there's no good spend spot today.
No, like I guess
you talked about Najee as a potential spend up guy in your article, didn't you?
Yeah,
I feel like you did.
Yeah, I did.
Could you a little more fill in on that, because I've got him in a couple of lineups, but I don't like him in a few lineups. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only
Yeah,
hope.
I mean the Chiefs' run defense hasn't been that great either. They're bottom 10 for the year. In a good way. They've same thing. They've allowed the fifth most catches to running backs this year. And even the past 4 weeks they've allowed the fifth most points to running backs. They're getting run on. Their secondary, their pass rush has really worked well. They've been tough to pass on, but they've still allowed a lot on the ground to running backs. I mean, right? A team's game plan, I would think, going in is let's slow the pace down, let's keep Mahomes off the field, and Harris is going to be the way to do it. And even like their wide receiver core now, like Claypool is just kind of lost. I don't think they trust him very much. He's in the doghouse, whatever it is. Deontay Johnson's going to get his 10 targets and all, but even he's got a little bit of a tougher matchup with this secondary. I think
I
we
like
see
the
Harris
Chiefs defense a little bit.
Yeah, I think we see Harris's usage just kind of tick up from what we've seen. He hasn't gotten many targets lately. I think that could kick up a lot, and and especially too the 4 o'clock games, people kind of overlook. Harris isn't going to. Harris isn't going to. Harris doesn't come off the field. Like I think there's potential there. He's just not going to carry much ownership. I think we lost him. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, we got booted there. We got booted there for a second.
Okay.
I have no idea if we're still. It says we're still live, so I assume we're okay. And it booted me out of the chat, unfortunately, too somehow. Which is delightful. I have no idea how to get back in there. All right, you can keep going. I'm just going to. I don't know. Let me see if I can get back into the chat here. Okay, we're good. Okay, hopefully we're back live, everyone. I don't want to, keep talking. Keep going. My question I'd had as we got booted was, is Pittsburgh smart enough to use Najee Harris properly?
I hope so. I mean, they should be.
Hope doesn't get us too far, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see, but I just think it's. Listen, all you got to do this week is one thing to make your lineup different enough that it's not looking like everything else out there. Whether it is an Atlanta stack or it's using Najee Harris or
not Saquon Barkley. No one's using Saquon. Saquon, Javonte Williams, like they're going to go completely under-owned, right? I mean, those guys are going to be sub-5 guys, aren't they?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, because Barkley's going to catch a ton of passes. I mean, I understand Jake Fromm, but like they need to use him if they have any chance in this game. And again, all the passing game for Denver, and he's still getting 15 carries a game. Running backs, don't those guys make more sense?
If we're I love Jamal Williams. I think Williams is a great play. I think it's perfect to use him. Barkley, I don't think Barkley. I mean, if you look at the last 5 games that he's been back, I mean, he's been in the same range every single week. I mean, he got bailed out against the Chargers where he scored that touchdown at the end of the game. But other than that, I mean, if you take the touchdown away, last week he had 10 points. The Chargers would have been 12.5. It was 13 against Miami. It was 9 against Philly. It was 11.5 against Tampa. He's doing the same thing every single week, and he's just right now he's even with the volume. I mean, he's gotten last week he had 19 touches, 19 the week before, 17, 12. Like the volume's there. He's not doing anything. There's nowhere to run. He's catching these short check downs. It's like we always had Barkley as that upside guy. If he gets a lot of volume, he's gonna break something. Like he's just gonna be great. But now he's become touchdown dependent, and they're down to Jake Fromm, who they signed 3 weeks ago. I mean, what how much worse is that offense going to look this week? I mean, I just don't think the upside's there.
Make me feel better about using a lot of this guy today, please.
I mean, Zach Wilson loves him. He only got 1 target last week, unfortunately, but. He had 10 against the Saints. If you look back earlier in the year, the first couple of weeks, he had some, nice targets. And, I mean, they've they've literally got nobody. You know, he had 7 targets week 1, 11 targets week 2. I mean, he's kind of their de facto number 1. I mean, like I said, there's nobody else there. I mean, there's Keelan Cole, there's Denzel Mims, who is, you know, working with like the 6 stringers in camp this preseason. I mean, you know, I think Berrios has as much upside as anybody else in that price range at receiver. And again, it's a great pivot off Josh Palmer, who's going to be 35% owned. I mean, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't do that. Is
there a route to this? Is there a route to this today? Is this doable? Can I get an amen on this? Hold on. I'm going to build the rest of this lineup before you give me the thumbs down. Don't thumbs down me until I've completely built this lineup, because I think we can do something here. I think there's a possibility. Hold on. Let Doug work. Let Doug do his thing. Hold on. Let's go here with the Bengals. Let's hit up these wide receivers here. Can I pull this off? Let's go Cup. Let's go Hill. Come on, give me enough money to make it happen. You son of a gun. I can't do it, but I can almost do it.
What do you want to do?
I want Lockett in there for the Cole Kmet run back, and then we're just going to go in here.
You can use the Falcons defense, I think.
Yeah, just come down on defense. I'm never going to, like I said, never going to defense. Like, I'm not saying you should use this lineup. I'm also not saying I'm not going to click enter before we get off the air here and at least give this a run. Like, this is crazy, but is it? It is. But is it? Mike White's won a Millionaire Maker this year. Let's not forget that. A Millionaire Maker has been one with Jared Goff this year. A Millionaire Maker has been one with Tyler Huntley. And a Millionaire Maker has been one with Mike freaking White this year. I don't think this is like going to win you a Millionaire Maker, but am I going to enter it into the $3 play action to try to pop 100K? Yeah, why not? It's the Jets. We haven't done a stupid Jet stack in a while. Like, because you can fit so much in there.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's dumb, right? Like, this is a dumb use of $3.
I mean, there's worse ways.
I mean, yeah, like, go back and check my cash lineup from like week 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, that was a lot more than $3. There's like Berrios, but listen, we like Berrios. We like Carter in tournaments. We love James Robinson. If Carter and Berrios do anything, wouldn't it at least make sense, honestly, that Zach Wilson can get you 15 to 18? Like, if he gets you 22 points, if he gives you the pure upside game that he's had, 22 points, right? And you're getting 15 to 20 out of Berrios and 12 to 15 out of Carter and 20 out of Robinson. If this is 80 to 100 points right here, can get you 30, Tyreek can get you 30, Kmet can get 12, Lockett can get you 30. Like, you could win. I could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, wild things have happened, you know. So there's definitely the possibility. And
all right, here's what we're gonna do. It's time for the stupid Doug giveaway of the week. We didn't get to give it away last week with the Devonta Freeman because he didn't score the points. If you are in a tournament of 100 people or more, and you finish in the top 5%, I don't care if it's a 100-person tournament, 1,000-person tournament, a 10,000-person, a million-person, I don't care. So you're in a 100-person or more tournament, GPP, it could be as low as a dime, I don't care. 100 people or more. You use Zach Wilson at quarterback. I don't care about the rest of your team. And you finish in the top 5%, I will give away some Zach Wilson card that I have in the house. I have a Zach Wilson rookie somewhere. I will give it away to one person. You'll be entered into a drawing. You just have to be a member of BanksterDFS.com. You've got to be in our Slack chat. You've got to private message me your lineup and where it finished. And all you got to do is finish in the top 5%. You don't have to win. Zach Wilson can score you negative points. I don't care. But you've got to finish in the top 5% with Zach Wilson. Go out there and have some fun with it, right? Like, it's fantasy. We're supposed to have fun. Are you making a Zach Wilson lineup so you can get a Zach Wilson rookie card? It's not autographed. I don't have a Zach Wilson autograph. But I do have Zach Wilson rookie cards. Are you going out there? Are you going out there to make a Zach Wilson lineup now, Gutta? I will open it up to writers. I'll staff as well. Bankster staff can do it as well. So
I mean, if you change it to Mac Jones, I'll do one.
No, I don't have. I mean, I have Mac Jones cards, but I want to sell my Mac Jones. I got my Mac Jones Prism Draft Purple Wave sitting. It's
nice.
Sitting right there. My Purple Wave Mac Jones right there. Nice and stuff. I mean, they're not overly expensive cards. I'm not Heath, but Heath being my brother. owner of Chicagoland, come check us out. Facebook.com/group/CLBraves. We'll hook you up with a discount on your first purchase. But yeah, I got Zach Wilson rookie. If someone wants a Zach Wilson rookie card, I'll hook you up. If you cash, I'll add you to a raffle for it. We'll random it next week. But you got to finish top 5%, not top 5 overall, top 5%. So 1,000 people tournament, you got to finish top 50. You'll make some cash.
Yeah,
shit, I'm doing it. Look, I put my money where the mouth is. I'll click submit there so everyone knows I'm not just BSing. I'm like, I'll submit that lineup because I stand by my stupid plays. I've done a lot worse. I like building lineups here with your picks. I enjoy it. The dumb picks are always the ones that work. Where else? And we're running late today, and that's okay because I have nowhere to run today, so we can go a few minutes late. Where else should we be looking at tournaments? We spent a disproportionate amount of time on cash today, and I want to hear more about where you think we should go for tournaments.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, I've definitely come down a bit on Cincinnati. I think Hurts Goddard, I think, is going to end up being pretty strong today. And I mean, I like Tampa. I mean, the LA Minnesota game is going to be kind of the chalk of the week. I think there's a lot to like with Atlanta. It's one of those. Like I talked in weeks past, like those variance games. That game you could. I mean, listen, again, it's Tim Boyle, but maybe you can see that game go, 32-28, or it's going to be, 9-6, and everybody's, going to be poking their eyes out when they show it on the red zone.
Wait, did I hear Doug build a Tim Boyle lineup? No, I'm just.
Oh, don't do that. Go with Zach Wilson. Go with Josh Johnson.
I do think this game goes a little overlooked, and I think people are afraid of the run back, and I don't think we need to be afraid of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has a low ADOT, and with every other receiver kind of banged up, including Hawkinson out, like the guy's had 35 targets in the last 3 weeks. He's the number 3 wide receiver in fantasy over the last 3 weeks. They're going to get the kid the football. That's what this game's going to be all about, is seeing what St. Brown can do, even if you're running just a mini stack with Patterson and St. Brown or Gage and St. Brown. I think it's there. And this is where I might consider Matt Ryan, right? If you're going to run a stack there, you run Ryan with 2 of the pass catchers, whether it's Patterson, Pitts, or Gage, run it back with St. Brown. I think there's an avenue there. Who's the point? What stack that people are playing is going to disappoint besides Cincinnati? Because I think people are going to slowly come off Cincinnati. Who's going to disappoint?
Yeah, I think the Chargers.
I got my pick.
I think the Chargers stacks are going to disappoint.
I'm trying to say the F word on there. I'll say shit, but not the F word. You freaking know it. That's the stack. That's the stack that could absolutely decimate people if people are going to go heavy on the Chargers.
Yeah,
this could be a 24-10 game, but it could be just a defensive touchdown, a rushing touchdown, a short touchdown to Jared Cook, and just get out of Houston with the win, stay healthy.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I think there's plenty of path for the Rams to disappoint as well, just because of the ownership and the pricing levels. It's. I mean, Kupp is such a good play, but it's kind of the same argument I always make with the guy. At this price, I mean, you need 36 points for it to really pay off. He had a big game against Arizona, but he only reached 31 points. Like, I know last week he where was he at last week?
37. He hit it, right? He's hit 36 points 4 times this year. As you said, he's hit it in 33 games.
Yeah, so I mean. It is, and I mean, realistically, that's also a good way to gauge, like, with the ownership. He's kind of fairly owned. I mean, maybe he's a little bit above, but he's hit that value number in a third of his games. If he's 33% owned, you're basically giving it a 33% chance that he's going to hit it. It's reasonable, but there's just so much that could happen with it, where, again, between the combined ownership of the two of them and the points you're going to need, they could put up 35 points, and Kupp gives you a 28. He doesn't kill you, but he's not winning you a tournament either because of the salary you got to commit to him.
I'm that sucker who's not just on the field with Kupp. I'm overweight on the field on Kupp because I don't like money. No, he's just so good, and the money's there. I should probably go find a switch off to Tyreek, but he's also really highly owned, and he also needs about 35, 34 points to get there. And please don't think that just because there's some concern about using him in tournaments because you need to like kind of 4x to get there, like that doesn't pull him away from cash consideration. Like his floor is so high in cash, even if he only gets you 27, 28 points, 26 points, like he's fine for cash. It's tournaments. You need to completely obliterate your price to win a tournament. I still have a lot of Cooper Kupp this weekend. I'm actually playing Beckham over Van Jefferson for if I'm double stacking. I've been definitely using Beckham more. I don't remember why it was. I feel like you wrote something that kind of talked me off of Jefferson, or I saw it somewhere else.
Because I mean Jefferson's been out-snapping Beckham. He's consistently, aside for last week, he's been consistently getting more targets, and I just think he knows the offense a little better. You know, he's been around. You know, Beckham's the name. Beckham, I guess, can still make some.
But I feel like you talked me off of Jefferson. Was it not you who talked me off of Jefferson? Because I pivoted
off of Jefferson.
I'm on to Beckham. I'm off of Jefferson. Like I pivoted somewhere. I read or saw something that pulled me off of Jefferson.
Nope, that's not
I can't remember what it was that pulled me off. It must not have been you then, because I have zero Jefferson. I have lots of Beckham.
I'm very much like anti-Beckham.
Gotcha.
For the most part.
Yeah, that makes some sense. Where else are we looking? I had another question for you, and then we would wrap this up.
Yeah. So I think
not touching Buffalo this week, right? Is that we kind of off Buffalo this week, even though it's a really easy stack to make. Do you like them?
So I don't necessarily like it, but it's funny that you bring it up because I was just going to talk about them in the sense of may not be the worst thing in the world to maybe make up, one or two Buffalo lineups. I don't worry about Manny Sanders getting any targets. You got Beasley and Davis out. Like the problem with Buffalo, so many of the times they're pass heavy, but they have so many pass catchers that you never really know who the guy's going to be that pops. Well, this week it's pretty easy. There's only Diggs and Knox left. All the other receivers are like 4, 5, 6 string type guys. So I mean, if you're running Allen, Diggs, and Knox, I mean, listen, Allen should throw it 40 times like they usually do, and they have the talent; they can pop in any given week, and you're gonna get all of them under 5%. I mean, you can do that, and you can eat chalk in other areas, and you can build a pretty damn good lineup too.
I'm gonna build it, and then we'll sign off because I want everyone to watch me vomit on air as I load this lineup up here. I'm going back to my Bengals defense because I have to use the Bengals defense. Let's see. You said I can eat the chalk, so to me that says go grab some Antonio Brown and Justin Jackson so that I can spend up elsewhere. Let's see. Antonio Brown. Now, you had mentioned in your article, even though we're still a little concerned, we do like Jamar Chase this week a little bit. So let's use him. And then where can I run a fun little run back? Where can I do a fun little lineup? Pittsburgh, 58. No, I don't have the money there to do what I want to do. Well, let's run Edwards-Helaire there. Go a little against the chalk. That leaves me $4,800 for a flex. Yeah, I don't like where this leaves me. Gosh, I hate this lineup already. There's no one in that 4K range. That's the problem this week. There is literally no one in that 4K range. What if we run skinny? What if we just run skinny here? Right? You can run a skinny stack. We'll go down to Cole Kmet, who I still like a lot. And you tell me where I'm going wrong here because I'm trying to take some of your advice here. And what does that leave me? Does that leave me enough money to do anything? Oh, look at that. That leaves me just enough money to put Lockett in there because I'm not going to put that cash lineup. And there we go. We go skinny stack. And then I don't have to use CE, but I'm going to come off the chalk a little bit because I could go up if I want to James Robinson. Nope, there it is. We're going to run a Josh Allen stack because I trust you. I trust you, Gutta. All right, there it is. Money where the mouth is. Hit me enter. Only $3 worth of money, but that's where the money is. Entering it. Okay. Did it. Josh Allen stack because I've been trying to get more work in. Okay. We've done our thing now. Good. Any final thoughts before we roll out of here?
Let's do some bold predictions. Let's change up a little bit this week.
Oh.
So I'll let you go first. Give me 3 bold predictions that you like.
3 bold predictions. 3 is a big number. Let me pull up some. I got rid of everything here. All right, let's look here. Bold prediction number 1 is that Ronald Jones scores less than 10 fantasy points. That's bold, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much.
I mean, I'll go with the bold predictions based on the guys I've been talking up today. Bold number 2, the Bengals are the top scoring defense on the slate. And bold number 3, people are going to be complaining that they did not have enough Amon-Ra St. Brown run back this week in their tournaments. That they had too much Atlanta, but not enough Amon-Ra St. Brown. So those are I don't even remember what the first bold prediction was. All right, Ronald Jones. There it is. Those are my 3 bold predictions this week. Those are my 3 bold predictions. So Ronald Jones under, Amon-Ra St. Brown over, and Bengals top defense on the slate. How about yours? What are your 3 bold predictions?
Damien Harris, top 3 running back this week.
I'm shocked. You're so quiet about your love for Damien Harris.
Tyler Lockett will be wide receiver 1 this week.
God, I would love that. Oh my God, would that be wonderful?
And CJ Uzomah will be top 5 tight end this week.
That would be less wonderful, based on the lack of CJ Uzomah I have. But I love it. I love the Tyler Lockett, man. I hope you're right. If you're right about Tyler Lockett and the Bengals defense, and I'm right about the Bengals defense, and I'm on Ross St. Brown, we're in for a really good week for Bankster members.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like that, good. And that was a great way to end the show. I think we should do that going forward. I like the contribution. If you want more of what Doug and Gutta can bring, along with the rest of the wonderful staff at banksterdfs.com, check us out. $3.99 a week gets you access to all of our content, every sport, all of our platforms. The Slack chat's really where you want to be, plus the articles on the website and all that good stuff. But really, Slack chat, everything goes through Slack chat. So check us out, $3.99 a week, banksterdfs.com, and maybe you can be our next $1,000 plus winner, because we've had so many of them over the last few weeks, which is wonderful. Folks, have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks for joining us. For Michael Gudadero at the Big Gutta, I am Doug Shane at Bankster17. Come check us out, banksterdfs.com. Bye.